We are going to examine Turkish painter Osman Hamdi Bey's painting. Turkish archaeologist, museum creator, painter, and the first mayor of Kadıköy. He is considered the first Turkish archaeologist, actually, and he is one of the first Turkish painter and went down in history as the first painter to the figured composition in Turkish painting. Why? Because art wasn't developed in the Ottoman Empire due to Islamic prohibitions against painting and sculpture or most of art. They think that this is associating partners with God. Osman Hamdi Bey's three of his works, Gypsy's Break, Zeybek's in Ambush, and Zeybek's Death, whose whereabouts are unknown today, to the 1867 Paris World Exhibition. I think his most of works is missing. 28 very less for me, I think. The tortoise trainer, the gun dealer are among Osman Hamdi's most interesting and original works. Many of his paintings are exhibited in Istanbul Painting and Sculpture Museum, London, Liverpool and Boston museums. Let's start. Kökenoğlu Rıza Efendi painting is dated 1871, in which Osman Hamdi depicts a man dressed as a Mevlevi dervish. The figure is abstract from the space and transferred to the painting as a singular, considering that most of Osman Hamdi Bey's paintings are kind of self-portrait. In the Turkey of Osman Bey's time, men wore Western clothes, actually. In this painting, the figure is depicted in a Mevlevi dervish outfit. What is Mevlevi? What is dervish? Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi is a thinker, philosopher, we can say, who was devoted his whole life to seeking divine love, tolerance, and human love. The conversation he had with his close circle soon spread from ear to ear and began to reach wide audiences. It should be noticed that the concept of Mevlevi wasn't yet a question. At the time, it was established after the death of Mevlana to transfer his teaching and tolerance to future generations. These meetings would gain a ceremonial characteristic over time. Also, had their own rules along the certain principles of opinion and thought. His tolerance-based perspective that embraced the whole world developed in Konya and become one of the most influential sects during the Anatolian Principalities period. And then the 6,000-year Ottoman Empire. It was accepted and spread in Anatolia and another Islamic countries in a short time, with the center of the Mevlevi Lodge being in Konya, in Turkey now. Mostly unknown, I think. Mevlevi lodges are established at many points, especially after the establishment of Ottoman Empire. The other hand, Mevlevi things always stay away from politics. They acted as ambassador, carrying Turkish culture in each new region conquered by the Ottoman Empire, and in the time that opened Mevlevi Lodge in Egypt, Azerbaijan, Iraq, Syria, and into the Europe. According to the mystical belief that Mevlana espoused and spread individual passions should be completely freed and materialism in mortal life is the most harmful element in human relations. The basic teaching of Mevlana is humanism, and the most important thing in life is the state of the acting humanely. In all his works, he says that loving people is equivalent to loving the whole universe, which emerged after Mevlana's life to spread his knowledge. Also has he a human-oriented perspective and focused on tolerance and beauty. Emphasized the importance of forgiveness. On the other hand, Mevlevi has a great share in Sufism, which is shown as Islamic philosophy. We can say just Islamic philosophy. Okay, this guy, he's wearing, they said, ihram. And this guy's clothes and hats. Same hats on his self-portrait. Dervish. Male figures are depicted in either religious or ancient clothing from the time he lived. In some of the men's clothing, the influence of the Syrian and Iraq regions can be seen. Hamdi Bey may also have depicted the educated people watching the collapse of the Ottoman Empire or the mournful mood of the high level. When Osman Hamdi Bey's works with the theme of religion or mysticism are examined, the figure he works are generally seen while examining a work, book or calligraphy, or reading the Quran, the Kerim. This is a reinforcement element of the time. Coffee stove. On the sofa in the front of the window. On the sofa in the front of the window, a man who smokes a kind of hookah with the alone stick and a woman who brings him Turkish coffee are depicted. It's an Orientalist work. What is this? Hookah. Okay. Coffee stove with Orientalist traces. Turkish coffee in here. Okay. The woman is wearing a yellow bindallı dress. The man is wearing red kaftan and a turban. What is this bindallı? Is a German that dates back to the Ottoman period and has survived until today. Its original form. At that time, bindallı was worn by the British first as a wedding dress in her own wedding, and then as a dress in other wedding, which resembles a kaftan in shape, usually carry a flower, branch of leaf motifs, and extend to the feet. Why always plant patterns? Because Islam doesn't allow human motifs. Usually plant or animal or Arabic motifs are used. Just traditional Turkish house. Girl reading Quran. What is this Quran? They are writing Quran just. Actually it's Quran-ı Kerim. Means put in together. It is the holy book of Muslims, which contains the basic principle of the religion of Islam, the commands of God sent to the Prophet Muhammad, and informs them to all humanity. Yes, two musicians, girls. In Girl Reading the Quran, another painting complete by the painter in 1880. Orientalist paintings in Europe generally portrayed Eastern people as doing nothing, lazy and savage. In the eyes of European painters, the woman of the Eastern world, on the other hand, came to the forefront as an object in harem scenes. Unlike his Western colleagues, in all these works where he drew female figures, the painter preferred to portray women dressed as women instead of bringing sexuality to the fore. Osman Hamdi's women in this painting are people who are aware of their talents and Orientalists and individuality and are willing to learn and improve themselves. English painter and sculptor Frederick Leighton's Orientalist style music lesson painting is on the same theme as two musicians' girls. In these works, the older of two women dressed in Orientalistic clothes teaches the younger one to play an instrument. In the both paintings, the elaborate drawing of traditional Oriental instrumental drawn attention. What is this? Osman Hamdi Bey's paintings are, in the sense and reaction to Orientalism of the West. He expressed the culture from which he came out with all its reality. Most of the paintings have important messages about the culture of the society and geography they live in. Is this sexual? No. Maybe. But these two were separate. Okay. From the harem means protected, sacred, and vulnerable thing or place in Arabic. The section of houses, mansions, and places and palaces which are generally planned to the face and inner courtyard and where women continue their daily lives comfortably without encountering foreign men are called harem. In addition, the cities of Mecca, Medina, Jerusalem, where disrespectful behavior is prohibited and people go mostly for worship, and the holy place they are called harem. The word also means wives. The fact that women living here are also called harem is due to Islamic understanding of hijab, which according to some interpretations forbids an entry of men who are not related to the certain blood relation with the woman of the household. Okay, woman's room, harem. Just in ordinary house in Ottoman Empire. The linen woman. The stereotype in Islamic veiling is that a woman cover her whole body except her face, hands and feet. These clothes may consist of 1, 2, 3 or 4 pieces, but they shouldn't show the color of the body and shouldn't be tight. There are different clothes in different religions of the Islamic world. They may also be those that resemble sheets, but there is no requirement that it be a bad sheet or black. During the reign of Sultan Abdülhamid, which is the Osman Hamdi Bey's century, the chador was banned as a precaution, especially when it was covered with a veil, as it could put men and women in the same image or invisible. It's not banned because it's not Islamic. That era is different from the era we live in. While women at that time even covered their faces, today the places where women cover their bodies are limited. Today, Islam doesn't impose conditions such as mental or chowder. A woman wears how she feels better. This is true. There are still many people in Arabia, but Turkey is not wearing them for now. But Ottoman Empire, most women had wore. His wife, Miss Naile, in this portrait, where Naile appears in a black dress, gold gilding is used in the background. The use of gilding, which isn't seen in the other paintings of the artist, distinguishes this work from other paintings by the artist. This practice, which is seen as the picture of holy persons in Byzantine icon, is thought to show the value that the artist gave to his wife, and therefore to the woman. The carpet seller is an example of the East-West opposition. The European in the colonial hat seated on the set, an Ottoman seller in a turban. Sitting on the ground are pictures face to face, while the girl, a small model of her mother, curiously examined this strange person. Her husband is more cautiously standing next to the old Ottoman, a little behind her husband. The richly embroidered wall in the background, Chinese vases in their niches, tombak, coffee pots, helmet, mortar, candelabra. In here, an embroidered rifle. In here, and numerous carpets exemplify the richness of East that attracts the West. Two different worlds are depicted head-on the axis of the niches in the background. Okay, there was a lot of carpet traders in the past, but now it isn't that common. We can still say that it is important, our culture. Shepherd Mustafa Pasha's complex in Gebze, 1990 again. Paintings depict of Shepherd Mustafa Pasha Külliye in Gebze, which was built by architect Sinan in the 16th century by Shepherd Mustafa Pasha. The dome and minarets of the mosque in the complex can be seen. The complex includes a mosque, almshouse, and a medrese. In addition, there are tombs, Dervish lodge, library, hospital, Pasha rooms, caravanserai, and bath in the complex. They said külliye. If you look from the outside, you may not understand because it isn't ostentatiousness. It is the mostly hidden. The girl picking lilac and the girl with the vase. Who are they? We don't know. A young girl, just Gebze Landscape. He usually painted his painting during a summer month he spent at his home in Eskihisar, Gebze. Osman Hamdi Bey painted his most famous painting in this mansion, where he spent the summer months for 26 years. Green mosque front. From the painting, you can have an idea in Ottoman architecture and the daily life of people in the Ottoman Empire. Woman in the front of the mosque, Girl-Tevfika, the artist's nephew. No info. Two young girls visiting the tomb, 1 and 2, due to the white turban on the wide sarcophagus placed transversely on the left. I guess that a sultan is lying. The painter believed that the love of God was in the heart, and that women in particular should be freed from religious oppression. Westernization, which will take place when women open up to art and science and live their religion in it, is shown in this work with the compression of the tomb, with which two female figures are present. Altar. This is interesting. It was later discovered that the painting was exhibited for the first time in Berlin in 1901, then at the summer exhibition for the Royal Academy in London in 1903, and that the name Lana Genesis or creation in both exhibition catalogue. A woman with her head uncovered is depicted sitting upright on the large lectern with her back to the altar surrounded by the Quranic script. There are Quran and Quran pages around their feet. Claim that the woman in the painting is the youth of the artist's wife Naile Hanım. According to some, the painter took an Armenian girl working at home as a model, since the pose of the woman in the painting is similar to the pose of Jerome's sculpture named Tanagra. It is thought that Osman Hamdi was inspired by Tanagra when he was making the mihrab, which just means altar. Interesting. The mihrab altar has been the target of many criticism and attacks since construction. It has been said that Osman Hamdi Bey's painting career mostly touched upon the untouchable areas in terms of social morality and religion in this painting. It's thought that the most important reason why Osman Hamdi is called an Orientalist in his work Mihrab, because it depicts a woman whose religious books are thrown at her feet in disorder. According to some interpretations, the paintings emphasize the important status of women. Religious books thrown on the ground symbolize religious pressures that prevent women's freedom. According to Edhem Eldem's interpretation, the painting expressed Osman Hamdi's place in womanhood as motherhood above religion and dogma. Okay, this is interesting. Painting is missing. I think they destroyed this picture. Islamic lovers can everything, can do everything. Child graves in front of the old man. Dervish in the Prince's tomb, 1903. On the front plane, there are two sarcophagi, and behind them, the male figure in traditional clothes is depicted in front of the tomb door, with his right hand on the chest and his left hand raised. The work is one of Osman Hamdi Bey's Orientalist work, with its richly dressed monumental figure, its pace that present a section of Turkish art. Little Pink Riding Hood. The French journalist named Maurice de Sorges, who visited Osman Hamdi Bey right after the 1908 revolution, gave information about Nazlı, who was then 15 years old. One afternoon, I had a chance to find Hamdi Bey at his home, rereading a volume of Renan, and I could see Hamdi Bey and elegant Nazlı, who has the character of the father and interprets Chopin and Beethoven like a great artist. This picture is like this picture. It can be same girl. Okay, woman in Feraries. There's nothing we can say. Woman with Mimosa. Osman Hamdi Bey drew this work not in the Orientalistic way, unlike the other painting, but the accordance with the current scene in Europe. Theologian. The carpet he was seated on shifted by a bit. From this, it's understood that the man has been busy reading the Quran for a long time. Where is this? It can be Bursa, I think. The Turtle Trainer, his most famous painting. The plaster and tiles on the walls of the room on the upper floor of the Yeşil Mosque in Bursa were peeled off in places. According to some, what hangs on man's back is the Keşkülü-Fukara, a beggar's bowl made of coconuts or ebony used by dervishes and beggars. A pot, Keşkülü-Fukara, is the name of the bowl in which dervish put the dry food given to them. This painting, Osman Hamdi Bey, has been interpreted as a describing the tired state of an intellectual who was trying to modernize a backward society, especially when there was no clear information about this source of inspiration. It has been suggested that the turtles were inspired by the tortoise that were released after dark, with candles placed on their back during Sadabat festivities in the tulip era, according to the interpretations. Osman Hamdi Bey, who undertook the task of establishing and managing many institutions such as Sanayi Nefise Asar-ı Atika Museum, Duyum Umumiye, portrayed himself as a trainer. His subordinates, who couldn't adapt to their own way of doing business as turtles trying to reach the food, sterilized them. According to other interpretation, who thoughtfully standing man hopes accomplished the difficult task of taming the tortoise, which requires patience by stealing the neigh and the nectar on his back. According to this interpretation, the trainer is Osman Hamdi Bey himself. The fact that the trainer tries to deal with the difficult task with the musical instruments in his hands emphasizes that Osman Hamdi Bey also tried to bring a society that resists change to the contemporary level through arts, and therefore he attempted to open art school and museums. The fact that the trainer couldn't blow what he would use a train of tortoise and keep it behind the interpreted as Osman Bey gave up the concern of blowing what, that is, educating the people represented by turtles, because even the patience of Dervish had Bey, so roaming the streets while he was in Paris, mentioned Charles Baudelaire's The Painter of Modern Life. It can be. Okay, this is really important of him. The Arms Dealer is a 1908 painting by Osman Hamdi Bey. It's located in Ankara Painting and Sculpture Museum. It is a work which he portrays himself as two people and his son together in clothes of an older era. Osman Hamdi painted himself sitting in Cologne capital. It is thought that the Cologne head is which is street it referred to the founding of the museum. The hand gesture is interpreted as giving advice to his son. His son, his other hand, is painted examining the sword, and he has unsheathed and represent youth. It is interpreted as the different headrests they wear and the fact that one is sitting while the other is standing. One is shown with the gun, with the other one has left the guns. Explains the generations gap in the background, old man holding a book in one hand and merchant handling him a piece. A cloth are seen. Okay. Arzuhalci. Osman Bey used various types of abaya to indicate class differences. Oh, very less for him. He is mostly, I think, archaeologist, isn't painter. We can say he went down in history as a first painter to use figured composition in Turkish painting.